the Freakacast news, you would need more fiber. Instead of that bagel with cream cheese. More strawberries.
The Freakacast news, not a sponsor of good diet and exercise, but hey, why not?
Might be, but hey, you never know.
Anyway.
So, Ed, what's up with the news segment for today?
You tell me.
Well, we both have a couple things. We'll go ahead and start. I'm going to save the one that I know I'm going to talk about the most for last. I want to go ahead and plug Thor 2: The Dark World. That's going to be coming out in November of this year. We got our first trailer about a couple weeks ago. Looks really, really good. It definitely is holding to the fantasy element that I kind of mentioned before, even more so. They brought in dark elves. Got Jane being taken up to Asgard as opposed to Thor coming to Earth. So that didn't play out. The couple of shots I've seen just of like the battle scenes, it's like, this looks really awesome. This is kind of like Thor meets 300, so it's going to be pretty cool, I think.
All right, very cool. I know that Batman Arkham Origins is coming out in October.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to that. I probably won't buy it right away, but
cutscenes put together on YouTube.
They're neat, aren't they?
That's really the only thing. The only way I've seen any part of the game from any of them, actually.
I mean, really, it's like as long as they keep the same mechanics and Batman still flows and controls like Batman, should be a great game.
Well, I'm hoping it will. My only concern for you is, from what I understand, it's not being produced by Rocksteady.
Well,
so hopefully, maybe it's just a company change difference, but they've got the same engine and everything, because, while I didn't play the game, I know that a lot of people, yourself included, praised game mechanics, the way that it was organized very well. You know what? That's what made the game great. I mean, yeah, you were Batman, but if without the right mechanics, you don't feel like you're playing Batman.
Yeah, I mean, the two Arkham games, you felt like you were Batman. You had the reflexes, you had his ability, and you kicked a whole lot of butt. So, yeah. But
that's what you want from Batman.
Exactly. You don't want cry in the corner and mope Batman. And you definitely don't want Batmite.
Speaking of him, though...
Is this the thing you're going to talk about a lot of?
I'm not really sure how to preface this, except the only way to preface this is by saying, Man of Steel to Batman Begins with Superman Returns to Batman.
Alright, well.
And I say that not to necessarily say that Superman Returns is a bad film. You can listen to our Superman podcast on that. But that with Superman Return, in both cases, that wasn't the movie that we wanted. That was not the movie we were expecting.
Right.
And so, not deliver. And what happened was, as a result, in both cases, but, it's definitely worth the wait. This is the first time I've ever gotten emotional from a trailer. Like, seriously, emotional. And it's not because it's Superman. It was from the fact, listen, because it makes a lot of sense. It was in the shot where Clark, Sir...
We're experiencing some audio difficulties. You may have to repeat all that because you're cutting out quite a bit.
Okay.
So try that again, Matt.
Hey, where's the last part you heard me?
The last part I heard you clearly was the part where where someone I heard when said this to Clark, he...
Okay.
And folks at home can't see this, but I was basically doing a bad dubbing impersonation to Matt. It's like Godzilla and Mothra are battling in the city. To give you some context of what I was looking like a minute ago. No. And not to interrupt you, I'm going to preface this, and it's going to be in our news segment. It's appropriate. I'm going to try to be very careful with our audio editing because GarageBand is being finicky. So my editing is going to be a little short-handed, so the stuff I'm talking with Matt right now is going to be in the show, folks. I'm going to try to keep it honest with you. So bear that in mind. Any technical difficulties, I apologize. I'm trying to work on it. Continue, sir.
Anyway, what I was trying to say was that the part where Jonathan Kent felt Clark that the answer are real first. Jonathan and done.
I don't know what you're doing, man, but you're like every other word is cutting out.
That's really weird.
Except there's your sentence right there is like, that's really weird, I heard fine. But the moment you start saying Jonathan Kent does this...
You can't be kidding me.
Oh, man. Come on, FaceTime. Stop it.
It's worked before. You know, we probably should have realized this when we were having trouble connecting.
Maybe. But that right there, you thought we're fine. Try again, real quick. Maybe it'll hold up.
Okay. I forgot what I said.
Actually, hold on a second. Bear with me, folks. Matt, if you don't mind, disconnect, and I'm going to call you on my iTouch, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Bear with us, folks, as we... Alright, back again. Hopefully it'll hold up, and if not, I apologize, and I'll try to fill in any gaps.
Yes. Hopefully we can get it to work this time, Master.
Excellent. Alright, so what did Jonathan Kent say that had you so emotional?
Alright, so back to Man of Steel and Jonathan Kent. I was saying, or attempting to say, that the part where Jonathan Kent tells young Clark that he is the answer to Are We Alone in the Universe? Clark looks at Jonathan and says, well, can't I still pretend to be your son? And Jonathan simply replies, you are my son. And it's the way that he delivers it, it has so much heart, and I got to be honest, this was a moment that it really hit home for me. Because that's one thing about me that, you know, as an adopted farm boy...
You can relate to it.
I can relate to it, and all of a sudden, honestly, that made me kind of cry. It made me think of my dad. I've never had a superhero movie do that, like, literally, legitimately hit home and make me think about my own family like that, and it has nothing to do with, you know, all the other stuff. It was just that moment. And right away, if a movie can do that, and then deliver the action and everything else that we saw, I'm so incredibly stoked. It's unbelievable. Like, I haven't been this excited for a movie since the Dark Knight.
Well, awesome. And hey, we got all that, so hooray.
Yeah. Even better.
I know. All it took was me closing everything out and doing it again.
Yeah.
Oh, but cool. We were talking briefly about this before we started, how you sent me the latest TV spot and said, dude, if you don't get excited, you have no soul.
Yeah.
Well, I have a soul. And, whoa, Matt dropped the thing, but I can still talk. I will say, I mean, from what I had seen, I wasn't impressed, but this last one, I was like, okay, I finally see some stuff that I was going to go anyway, because it's on my birthday. June 14th, make sure you go.
Yes, June 14th. Be there or be not super.
So I was going to go anyway, maybe even on the day of my birthday, but, you know, that definitely helps. It's like, okay, he's actually going to be doing something other than creepily stalking Lois Lane.
Well, and the nice thing is just the way that we've been seeing, I mean, there's 9 TV spots, and each of them shows some slightly different footage. Little bits here and there that's just completely different. And then the one thing there's one line where you just see, the really cool thing is that the way that they show Superman flying is completely different from the way we've seen him before. Like, it's hard to explain without showing it to you. You can go to YouTube and just type in Man of Steel TV spot, and you'll see them all, which I recommend. Because it's and in Chris Nolan's fashion, yeah, it's a lot of TV spots that, but you still you're still gonna walk into the movie, you're still gonna come out of the movie surprised. He's not showing you his best hand.
You know what?
Little tidbits, just little things to get you excited. The one thing that excites me the most, we were talking about this before the show, the heat vision. This is not laser vision. This is not heat ray vision like they did in Smallville, which was cool. This is more like plasma ray vision. Like I was telling Andrew, it's like this looks like he's shooting lightsabers out of his eyes. I mean, there's sheer power behind it. And I think, honestly, that's what we're going to get. We're going to see just how powerful Superman is. We're not going to get, as you put it, moody stalker in this one. And no, forget that. I mean, like I said before, this movie is to Batman Begins what Superman Returns was to Batman and Robin. It needed to be updated for the times. One thing I'm really excited
Thank goodness, by the way.
What?
I said, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Finally, an up-to-date Superman.
Well, and the funny thing is, it's just kind of like, actually, I've mentioned this before. TV incarnations of Superman have done this all the time. The George Reeves 50s show was made for the 1950s. The 1980s Superboy show was made for the 1980s. Lois and Clark was for the 90s. Smallville was for the 2000, early 2000s. They do it in TV. Why do they not do it in film? In film, it's always, it has to look like Christopher Reeve. It has to feel like a Christopher Reeve movie. No, it needs to feel like a Superman movie.
Yeah.
And that's what Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, and David Goyer have done. They've decided to do something different and make a Superman movie that, feels like a Superman movie.
What's kind of cool, like, about the flying bit, it kind of, like, the way he takes off and the way, like, that works, it kind of reminds me of Dragon Ball Z, actually.
It does. Okay. That's interesting you bring that up because online there's constant debates over who would win in a fight, Goku or Superman.
That'd be a tough one.
And in fact, there's actually a little fan animation somebody did with Goku versus Superman. I didn't see it because it was 30 minutes long, and I'm like, I just wanted like a 5-minute fight, not a half hour.
Well, Dragon Ball Z, it takes them like 3 episodes just to charge up.
That's why I could never get into that show, quite honestly.
That's why I quit watching that show.
Honestly, it's like, there's nothing happening. Click. And it's not even he goes to the store. That would have been doing something. No, he's talking about wanting to get into a fight. Who cares? Who seriously, honestly cares? No one cares. But the really cool thing about this is they're really taking it from the standpoint of, it's hard to say realism, but realism in the sense of, if this really happened on our world, how would we react? That's why there's a huge military presence. It taking the standpoint of, if a being like Superman was found on our planet, how would people react? Well, a lot of people would be scared. Be like, who is this thing, and why is he here, and he's going to hurt us because he can do all these things. Quick, somebody call the military. They did. In fact, actually, in one of the TV spots, it doesn't look like a there's certain shots that really look like an alien invasion movie, not a Superman movie. And I love the fact that they're grabbing hold of that sci-fi aspect of Superman and running with it. Because Andrew, that's what I felt was sorely lacking in the Christopher Reeve movies.
Was the fact that no one seemed to be freaked out, the fact that it's an alien!
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things we're going to see now is he's going to be treated as if an alien was found on our planet. They're going to want to dissect him. They're going to want to, except they can't because he's Superman.
Yeah.
I honestly think, because if you notice, in trailers, we haven't seen Clark Kent with glasses. I have a feeling, this is purely speculation, but I have a feeling that we will not see Clark Kent in glasses, I have a feeling that just like with Batman Begins, how we got the classic Batman and Gordon on the rooftop with the bat signal scene at the very end hinting at the Joker, I have a feeling that at the end of Man of Steel, we're going to have Clark Platt in Daily Planet with Lois Lane and Perry White, and there's going to be something about Lex Luthor. I have a feeling that's going to be the last scene of the film, and we're just going to end it with this kind of the classic scene. But and I also have a like I said, just really.
I can't hear a word you're saying now.
Okay. I have a. Can you hear me?
You're cutting out again.
All right, I'm doing. Anyway.
So you have a speculation.
Really speculation, but I have a feeling, because of the fact that they are going with a more realistic aspect, brought up how Lois Lane couldn't tell the difference between guy with glasses and guy without glasses, even though they're the same guy. In Smallville, they approached it, and they actually took it head on, and they had Lois and Clark together, and that he would, in the first, or he had glasses. I have a feeling that happened in the deal. No, that Super are the same. But I think
well, we'll have to see.
Like I said, pure speculation, because knowing how Batman Begins was, like I said, very much Batman.
So knowing what Nolan does, because you're cutting out again.
Knowing what Nolan does and how everything makes sense. The job of putting have.
All right, well, very cool.
I'm hoping to see. I'm interested if this is going to be true or not.
Yeah, we'll find out in June.
Yeah. Well,
You're doing it again. All of that, whatever you just said, I have no idea what you said. Anyway, that's a good
almost an hour, and we're not even through the news segment yet.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna end that as like Superman. Let's go see it June 14th. What I'm currently playing, just to change of gears, I'm still playing Skyrim, trying to get through it. I will never be able to fully beat it because it's glitching on me.
Yeah, I know. Comment on.
Yeah, there's a video I put on Keek, and I posted on. It's on Keek. You can find me on Keek. It was on Tumblr and Facebook and blah blah blah. But basically, it happened yesterday, I think, the day before. I was playing, and it got to a point where all of a sudden the game froze. But not only did the game freeze, my controller wouldn't stop vibrating, and I couldn't turn the Xbox off through my controller. So you just have my controller going bzzz. I'm just like, what? Can't turn it off. And I have no idea. I know you said that's messed up, but only because I was able to read your lips.
Wow. Okay.
But I recently.
Today's episode of Freakacast is not brought to you by Verizon.
Verizon reception F&A. You know what's ironic? This is related to nothing at all. But if you go back and listen to that stand-up, Robin Williams Live on Broadway 2000, I believe it is. If you go back and listen to it, his whole bit on Lance Armstrong is sort of like, well, the Frenchest thing, like, he's on some chemicals. They were right.
Yeah.
It wasn't chemotherapy.
That's basically what chemotherapy is. Body.
Yeah. Said, hey, chemotherapy and a whole lot of steroids.
I mean, really, what would you expect from a guy without, you know?
I don't know. Anyway, one thing I do want to mention for all of you hardcore gamers out there, I recently got my hands on a decently priced copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64. I know you have no idea what that is, Matt, but many hardcore gamers... What's that? And what's neat about it's a lot of people consider the last really good Rareware game. Rareware was the people who made GoldenEye. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with anything, but I have to share this with you.
All right, I'll get back to Conker, I guess. What's up?
Phil posted a picture. It says, "The next time you get a call from a blocked or unknown number, answer it in whisper. It's done. Whatever. Then hang."
And thankfully we caught that one.
Good. That could be fun.
Anyway, for those of you who don't know, Rareware was the company that made they made Donkey Kong on the Super Nintendo. They made GoldenEye. So I mean, right away you know what that one is.
Oh yeah, I won't tell you how many sleepless nights I had because of that.
They made Perfect Dark, Banjo-Kazooie.
With Perfect Dark.
What's that?
I'm very familiar with Perfect Dark.
Okay. So, Rareware is the company that made that, and they made a bunch of pretty good games, but a lot of people consider Conker's Bad Fur Day to be the last of the good ones. For many reasons, and I mean, we could probably do a whole podcast just on that, but basically they got bought by Microsoft in its entirety, and they kind of started releasing crap afterwards. But anyway, what's neat about Conker's Bad Fur Day is, on the surface, it looks like a cute, cuddly game because it stars a squirrel. And, he's, cute. But it's rated M for mature because they basically is like, you know what? Let's have fun. Let's just do something crazy. And so they made it raunchy, but in a clever way. So it is one of the few, if only, I mean, if you may count GoldenEye and stuff, but it's one of the very few N64 games that has a rated M for mature. Because it's such a weird oxymoron to see a cute, cuddly character in a bright, colorful environment, have colorful language and be drunk in like the first first thing of the game. And they
sounds like Seth MacFarlane created this character.
He didn't. And what's nice is like they have a bunch of. I know for a fact I haven't played it yet, and I'm going to as soon as I finish Skyrim, or get to a point where I'm done with Skyrim. Like, I know they do a whole lot of references to things. Like, I know in the beginning they reference A Clockwork Orange in their cinematic look to it when you first get introduced to Conker. So I'm looking forward to playing that, because I have heard good things about it. And for those of you who just want to see something crazy, look up The Great Mighty Pooh, and you will be thoroughly entertained. Because trust me, just that description alone does not give you a hint of what exactly it is, although it does give you an idea, but not what you're thinking of.
Wow.
But it is, at the same time.
When you start to Google The Great and Mighty, the first thing that pops up is The Great and Mighty Pooh.
Just have that on standby when we're done. Watch it, I swear. Because even if you're not a gamer, you'll be entertained. And be like, because it'll be one of those things like you can say, wow, how in the hell did they get this on a video game on a Nintendo? And it's awesome.
They were clever.
They were.
Yu-Gi-Oh card with it on there.
Anyway, that's pretty much what I'm up to. Anything else you want to add? Because if not, we'll just segue right into what we're getting at today.
I think so.
All right, good. In that case...
Arkham Origins. I do like the new look of the suit from Batman Arkham Origins. Looks definitely like a year one suit. So did you see the video of the fight between him and Deadshot?
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, looked like wow, that's awesome.
I'm just gonna assume you said good things because I didn't hear a word of it.
All right, we'll go with that.
Oh man, this is gonna be a fun thing. Anyway, news segment over. I'm diving right in. Hi, and welcome to the Freakacast.
Just put it on pause.
All right. We're pausing real quick, and we'll be right back to the show.
So, yeah, there's this podcast out there. It's, yeah, if you could just go ahead and come in on Saturday, that'd be great. Thanks.
The Freakacast. We consider ourselves teachers. Entertainers, if you will. And we shall be entertaining you, America. America. Like fortune cookies.
Yeah!
Yeah! And you know what else is American? Iron Patriot, which was in this movie.
Yep, he was awesome.
No, he wasn't. He would be awesome if he, could actually be awesome, but, he got to be a vehicle, but for other people, which I have problems with, we'll get to. Anyway, I'm Andrew, and that's Matt on the other end of FaceTime, which we're having some audio difficulties with. So hopefully we'll muddle through this review of Iron Man 3.
Yep, Iron Man 3, the first of hopefully more than one review this summer that we'll be able to do.
Yep, and the sort of first of the second wave of movies after the Avengers.
Yes, as Marvel puts it, Phase 2.
Phase 2!
Phase 2, I don't really do phases, you just gotta kind of roll with it.
So what's weird is, like, when I think of Phase 2, I think of, the third Batman movie. I can't, blanking on the title.
Batman.
What's that?
Batman Forever?
Yeah, that one. Where Two-Face goes, Phase 2! And I don't know why in context.
Well, no, I find it interesting because between the two of us, I've seen that movie the most. And yet, when I hear phase, I instantly think of Austin Powers.
I don't even remember the word phase in Austin Powers.
He's like, Phase 2, Phase 3. I don't really do phases. You just gotta, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that part. Although, to be honest, I haven't seen the first Austin Powers in a long, long time.
Okay.
But Austin Powers has nothing to do with Iron Man 3. You know what else has nothing to do with Iron Man 3? You can find us on the web at afelson1.wordpress.com. That is afelson1.wordpress.com. Check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. Both free, so why not? We're on Facebook as well, both under the Freakacast and the Freakout and Freakout Entertainment. Our theme song comes from songstowearpantsto.com. Check him out. He has his own website there, and he's on YouTube as well. Just search it, and you'll find it.
Yep, very cool stuff.
Indeed. And I just want to dive right into the movie. And we haven't really had a chance to talk about it at all, so first and foremost, did you like it?
Oh, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, actually, probably... See, I was one of the people that actually really enjoyed Iron Man 2. Some people had some problems with that, and I'm like, Iron Man's not in it enough. It's like, well, if you really boiled it down to it, it's like he's in Tony's in the Iron Man suit in Iron Man 2 probably about the same amount of time as he is in the first one. He's just not in it every other scene. He's in only really 2 scenes, but the 2 scenes he's in are like 10-minute long scenes. But I enjoyed it. I thought, each act set up well, and so going into Iron Man 3, you said, okay, this is after the events of the Avengers, and okay, how's it going to be different? And I'm not the only one who's made a mention of this. There's actually an article that one of the people on Modern Myth Media wrote about. It's, comparing Iron Man 3 to The Dark Knight Rises, and there's a lot of similarities. What I like about it the most, I had an idea, because Shane Black directed it, and it wasn't Jon Favreau. Shane Black directed this one, and Shane Black had worked on the first 2, as a consultant or something, producer, I don't know exactly what. But he had worked on the first 2, so when they brought him in, it wasn't really like he was coming out of nowhere. Yeah. He was kind of sliding in, Jon Favreau was sliding out. Shane Black, most for directing the Lethal Weapon movies. And it's funny because, as me and my girlfriend were sitting there watching it, that's the tone that I had. I mean, it was this kind of, action movie with some comedy, and it was kind of that movie. The third act felt straight. It felt like Tony Stark was playing Mel Gibson, and what's his face? Brody was playing Danny Glover's character. I kind of felt like it really did. The third act, in the harbor and all that, on the boat, it felt like the Lethal Weapon with Iron. Like, no, I like Lethal Weapon. I like Iron Man. I like this. All right.
Didn't even think of it like that, but all right, I can see where you're coming from. I enjoyed it as well. I mean, I'll certainly agree with other people where it's like Iron Man 2 was maybe not as good as Iron Man 1. But,
yeah,
I mean, there were some good moments in it.
Tough comparison because they really feel like two different movies.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I'll certainly also agree that this was better than Iron Man 3, which, I don't know, I mean...
I think you mean Iron Man 2.
Yeah, Iron Man 3 was better than Iron Man 2, which, I think for some, they could have just put that on the poster and people would have gone, it's like, Iron Man 3, better than Iron Man 2.
Really, they put Iron Man 3 on the poster and people went anyway.
Yeah, I know, I'm just being silly.
Right now, it's actually surpassed The Dark Knight Rises in box office.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, I felt it was a very solid addition to the Iron Man trilogy. And also, yes. I felt it also portrayed what a normal person, because, like, let's face it, of the of the Avengers,
yeah,
like the core ones that we think, like the ones who've had solo movies, he's the one who would probably suffer the most in terms of, like, not knowing how to deal with being in that sort of a combat situation. Because, yeah, sure, he was in some stuff in the first one where he had to escape being imprisoned and almost getting killed from that, and then having his friend and longtime business partner try to kill him. That's a lot to go through. And then having the second one where some crazy dude with his own technology is trying to kill him, that's also a big thing. But then having an all-out battle and almost really dying.
And not only that, but, I mean...
He's also, like, of the ones...
Aliens the first time.
Yeah.
You're thrust in and all of a sudden you're fighting aliens and you're like, what on earth is going on here? It's like, this is just weird and I just want to go home and curl up and, die, or not die, but just, like, get away from this reality, go watch some reality TV, because apparently that's, fake compared to what I'm experiencing right now.
So, having him dealing with those after effects, and, I mean, we're going to be by the way, major spoilers, as always, with these reviews. Yeah. Just heads up.
We're not going to hold back because we realize it's too difficult for us to talk about it with holding back.
Yeah. But we're also not going to be going that linear. We're just going to be jumping around to stuff as well. Just so everyone knows, and they're not trying to be like, what happened? If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen the movie, why are you listening?
Exactly. But I like the fact that I think they feel they accurately portrayed someone that is going through a post-traumatic stress disorder type situation, where he's like, he jumps in the suit after, like, you're hearing about the Mandarin. He's like, Jarvis, check the heart, check the brain, what's going on? He's like, you've had a severe panic attack, anxiety attack. And he's like, what? You gotta be kidding me.
Granted, I wouldn't exactly put Tony Stark on the model of human health anyway.
No.
But
we'll get to that, I feel.
What?
But we're gonna get to that.
Yeah. It is where you experience something that bizarre out of your daily life. And, like you said, a combat situation, because that's what it was. I mean, he was, while he was handling himself in the moment, revived by this giant green monster screaming at you.
Yep.
How weird is that?
And then going out to eat afterwards.
Yeah.
And making shawarma, whatever that is, popular.
Shawarma is, by the way, I've had shawarma. It's kind of like a gyro.
Okay.
It's basically a type of, it's the common meat and that they together.
Okay.
I'm a little bit overwhelmed. Oh, here.
What? By the way, P.S. folks, we're still having audio difficulties, so if Matt goes, he's not playing. It's just, technology.
I promise I'm trying to talk to you. It's not my fault if you can't hear me.
That's all right. We'll get
Seriously,
through this.
it's not my fault. I have no control over this.
I'm not blaming you, and hopefully our listeners, if we have any, aren't blaming you.
I hope.
Oh, by the way, thank you, William, for the Squamster drawing. We finally got one.
Yes, we actually did have a entry into our Scrampster contest. Finally. Summer we are putting together something with that.
Yep. Anyway, so I guess we should start going down the list of what did we like about the movie? What did we not like about the movie? So.
Okay.
What'd you like about it?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think as far as specific things that I liked. One of the things I liked is them, doing a non-traditional opening of the film with the voiceover, taking you back to 99. Setting up the extra storyline, having gone back time period and saying, okay, this is what before Iron Man stuff. Go to the next time and.
Well, what's nice is they did a nice callback where we saw the person who helped him out in the caves in the first movie.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a nice callback.
Jensen makes a cameo, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so we go into that point, we get to see basically Tony before he straightened up his life. And, unwittingly make some very bitter and bad enemies.
Yeah.
And, in that voiceover, we got a brief hint of what was to come with the attack on his house.
Right.
And seeing Happy Harry with a mullet was pretty funny.
Yeah, actually, Happy was probably one of the best bits that they had in that first part, with him in as the security guard.
Yeah.
Really, the goes off, comes on Tony in the bed to protect him. Tony, wasn't except get off me, sweet.
Well, the plant exploded because it was
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, the reaction that Tony had after Happy jumped on him.
He's like, get off me! I almost expected, I'm not your type, stop it!
Honestly, that's true. I was kind of half expecting it myself, too. Probably a little bit disappointed that he didn't say that.
Yeah. But, it moved nicely to the point where it brought us back up to speed, where he was just sort of letting Pepper handle the business end of things, while he stayed home and tinkered, as he does.
That's what I liked a lot, is the fact that part where I with Tony. What do you do when this can't get things up behind you build stuff?
Yep. And giant the bigger the stuffed animal does not automatically make it a better gift.
Yeah, pretty true.
I like the fact that we got to see a different variety of suits.
Yeah.
Like the main one, I guess I would call it the main suit in this one, is the one where he's implanting the chips in his arms so that they would find him and respond. I would consider that the main suit of this one, because we saw it the most.
Yeah. I know.
That was pretty cool. And I like the fact that there was a sense of humor throughout, from start to finish. There was, points that made you laugh.
Quite honestly, that's one of the hallmarks about an Iron Man film. That's what is making the character interesting, exciting to people, is the humor.
Mm-hmm. Robert Downey Jr. was pretty much made for this role. What? Not getting any of it, Matt.
Dead. Not get any of that in a Batman.
Exactly. I don't know if you have hitting the mute button or not, but you're totally out now.
I can hear you.
I know, that's the weird thing. Anyway, I'm gonna if you don't mind, I'm gonna take the reins for a second.
Okay.
Trying to think. Plot, like, we're not really gonna go deal with plots necessarily, but I do want to at least introduce the cast of characters. Like, we already know Tony Stark. That's kind of
right.
No need to go into that. And we already know Pepper, so she basically has a bigger role. But Don Cheadle, is that how you pronounce his name? Reprises his role as Colonel James Rhodes. And the War Machine suit gets an upgrade to the Iron Patriot.
Yep.
To combat our villain, the Mandarin, or so we're led to believe. And we also have Aldrich Killian as well, who ends up being, the true main bad guy of this film. I mean, we saw him far more than the Mandarin.
Yeah.
And, screw it. It was no Mandarin, really.
Oh, no, actually there was a Mandarin. Aldrich Killian was the Mandarin.
Yes, just not the one we were thinking
Says
of.
it in the movie, I am the Mandarin.
Yes, he does. And, I know some people, I guess let's just go ahead and talk about that now. A lot of people were disappointed with the fact that it wasn't, you took an iconic villain and made him a joke, but then made it, bait and switched us. The fact that I had no personal connection whatsoever to Iron Man, like from reading comic books, I felt it was a nice twist. I was like, oh, you know what? I wasn't expecting it. They got me.
Yeah, but, and, the one, I definitely, you've seen that before in Batman Begins with Ra's al Ghul.
Yes. I've got none of that, man.
You're not, are you?
I'm not hearing a word you're saying.
Hearing a hum, so maybe that has something to do with it.
No. I don't know what's going on. It's just getting worse as we're going. Oh boy. Overall, though, I think my overall impression of the movie was good. There are some bits and pieces.
If you can hear me,
yes?
Ra's al Ghul and Liam Neeson.
Yes, that I heard. Hooray. Yes.
That is that I thought, hey, they didn't copy, but if you copy something, I mean, it's good. I mean, Batman is a good.
Well, going in, we kind of figured that Killian was going to be the bad guy anyway, especially when he started glowing and being all fire-breathy.
Well, and not only that, but it's Guy Pearce, and he rarely plays the good guy.
Yeah. And I think he did a pretty good job, overall.
Yeah.
And his,
I think that he was the villain at the beginning. No. Whatever. Kind of reminds me of that character.
Alright, slight technical difficulties again, to the point where I now have Matt on speaker and have placed the phone on the laptop, so if you can't hear him now, it's basically the best we can do at the moment until we figure out how to make this better.
Yeah, this is a pretty low-budget way of doing it, but it's our only shot at this point. I'm just, you know what, Andrew? I'm just going to pretend that I've called into the show and trying to get on the show because it's the first time I've been on the show. So I just want to thank Andrew Felson and Matthew Puetz for letting me speak on the show because this is such an honor.
Long-time listener, first-time caller?
Yes, I'm a first-time caller.
You know, the funny thing is, even though you're on a phone, I'm actually picking up the audio a lot better.
Well, that's good.
Your volume levels are much, much better than you were on FaceTime. Go figure. It's on the FaceTime's on the computer, and so is the recording.
Well, that's just apparently Murphy's Law is with us tonight, regardless of whether we want it or not.
Exactly. So I was ranting a little bit. So Matt, what were the things that you felt were really positive about the movie?
Well, what I felt was really positive about the film, couple things. You know, we talked about the switch, and I've said before, or I was trying to say anyway, that while, you know, there were some people that were upset that, oh, the Mandarin's really just this drunken act. It's like, well, no. The Mandarin, which Cillian, or Aldrich, I keep wanting to say Cillian Murphy for some reason. He played the Scarecrow, that's why.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, Aldrich Cillian was really the Mandarin. His real name was Aldrich Cillian. I actually thought one of the things that plot twist has that a lot of people, if you're not actually thinking, you're not going to catch it. But if you actually think about it, look at what the Mandarin is. He is every American's version of a terrorist.
Yes.
He's just the poster boy for a terrorist. And that's what he was trying to do. In fact, it was funny because when Tony was doing his detective work, which, by the way, I have to say, I was kind of upset that we got to see Tony Stark do better detective work than we've seen Batman do in all three films. I was a little upset with that, only because it's like, you're taking the thunder from Batman. Why? We've done well, so I'm okay with it.
Well, I guess they're like, well, Batman didn't do it, so someone has to.
Well, it's true, but one of the hallmark of Batman is the fact that he is the world's greatest detective. So to see Iron Man do that better, not quite what I wanted to see. You know, I'm hoping that just ups the stakes for Batman in his next film.
Yeah.
Of course, you're making me lose my train of thought now. But having the what's my train of thought? Oh, okay. When he was doing the detective work, and he was talking about how, you know, he mentioned how everything was very theatrical. I thought, just because I've seen it a lot, the theatricality is of powerful agents.
Yes.
Well, that's what Cillian is doing. He's using the theatricality of, you know, this character, the Mandarin, to, you know, he's basically saying, here, I'm going to show you this fancy thing over here, and I'm really doing this over here. I mean, it's great sleight of hand. And I think,
well, he says it in the movie where he's
really pulling this out, but, you know, it's my understanding, very basic understanding, that in the comics the Mandarin uses magic. Well, that's essentially what Cillian is doing. He's using magic. Not magic like casting spells, but magic in the sense of the illusion. He's creating the illusion of Mandarin, and it's working because the people are focused on this Mandarin character and not anything else. They're not focusing on these random explosions that are killing people, but at the same time they can't find the source of the bomb. You know, what he's doing is very intelligent. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that, not so much the plot twist, but setting it up, you know, kind of putting the pieces in place. Like I said, if you just see it on face value, yeah, you're not going to see all the, you know, you're not going to see everything. But if you actually take a moment and think about it, it's brilliant, quite honestly. Especially in this day and age when we have such a instilled fear upon us with terrorists, you know, put it in the forefront. You know, don't shun away from it in movies. And I think that's one of the things that you can do real well in movies that you can't do in other things. They give you that outlet to say, okay, let's put it out there. And maybe people will think about it, maybe they won't, but we're going to have a statement. It's a great way of making a statement without making a statement.
Exactly. I mean, they even said it kind of in the movie where he was basically saying, if you give terrorism a face, this is what this is what they'll focus on. Well, he can be off on the sidelines and go undetected. And of course, in reality, it's like you know, you can compare the Mandarin to what Osama bin Laden's, you know, basically on-air character of, you know, this is the face of terror. Just because Osama bin Laden is dead doesn't mean that terrorism is just stopped. It's still going to keep going. So it's, you know, it's a true to life thing where even if people didn't know what the Mandarin looked like, you know, they know that there is him, but there's also the fact that, well, yeah, he's not exactly on the field pulling the trigger. He has everybody else working for him. So being able to give someone diverting people's attention to this one guy allows him to go and do his other nefarious things with his the drug, whatever it was called. What was it? It was the extremist. Yes, the extremist virus.
You what?
It's called the extremist virus.
Yeah, the extremist virus, yes.
So, as I said, I mean, because I had no huge connection for it, I was more impressed by the fact that they did this to, where they pulled the switch on us, because I'm sure people were expecting the big thing. But hey, it worked.
Well, and the other thing, too, that's really cool is, I mean, you know, in a world with the internet, and we can get so much information that they were able to actually pull this plot twist out on us without anybody knowing, without it leaking. That's amazing right there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I like the third act probably a lot, just because a lot of good fights with the different Iron Man suits and the different kind of extremist henchmen. And kind of, I guess for me it was just kind of a little, hey, this is fun to see, you know, a bunch of Iron Mans versus a bunch of henchmen that can, you know, like, become fire and stuff. And was it real? No, but it was cool to see.
Yeah, although you have to wonder, like, why were those suits so flimsy? Because they blew up quite easily, some of them.
Well, you know, he was making a lot. He was going for quantity, not quality.
I suppose so.
You know, and plus, you have to think, he doesn't really have an endless supply of materials. So each suit that he designs is, you know, well, it's like anything else. They're going to have strengths and they're going to have weaknesses.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, just for a lot of them, they didn't have, well, and also that they didn't have him in it. So he was probably expecting them to be somewhat disposable.
Yep. I mean, it was neat seeing, like, some of the ones...
do your job real quick, and you know, if you blow up, no big deal, I got 40 more.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was neat seeing all the different, you know, looking designs of them. It's like, I recognized one was the Hulkbuster. That I recognized.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Funny because everyone's like, that's the Hulkbuster, that's the Hulkbuster. And they're like, no, it's not the Hulkbuster. He lifts things with it. And we're like, yeah, it's the Hulkbuster.
I guess my only complaint about the suit, well, we'll get there. Anything else you have to add?
I'm kind of thinking just because...
As far as positivity.
Positivity?
Yeah.
I liked the other twist with Pepper actually getting the extremist virus, but at the same time, she's not harmed by it. You know, she falls into the fire, and actually both Sarah and I were like, oh no, she died. And I'm like, how can you, like, you've developed this character really well, and so wait a minute, she gets the virus, maybe she'll survive, and then she does, and then she just kicks all kinds of ass.
Yeah. Which was cool.
So I was pretty pleased with how it pulled that off.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed when, what was nice is like, well, I'm sure other people will complain, it's like, oh, we didn't see a lot of Iron Man, but you did see quite a bit of Tony Stark just being cool and Tony Stark. Like him going to, where was it? Which state was it? Tennessee. And he had to drag the Iron Man suit along in the snow, and he has to steal Poncho off a wooden Indian. Native American,
yeah.
Excuse me.
it was much more, it was scaled back. And honestly, I think that was probably an interesting choice on the filmmaker's standpoint because, you know, Avengers was such a big scale, and we're going to get this epic scale in Man of Steel this summer. Iron Man 3 said, you know, we're going to scale it back. We're just going to focus on Tony, you know, and things that are going on in his world. And we're going to scale it so back, in fact, that we're going to go to the small town. And get it's a good character piece, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, out of the 3 films, I felt like this was the character piece.
Well, you really get a bigger sense of him trying, like once, I mean, he's no Batman in terms of, he's not going out every night patrolling. He seems to do stuff when he's needed. He doesn't go out every night and look for bad guys to fight. So this was him, you know, being on the street, doing what he's got to do. And, you know, that's not normal for him. So obviously he has a trouble blending in because people recognize, oh, you're Tony Stark. So sometimes it's difficult. I mean, like the guy in the van is like, Tony Stark, I got a tattoo of you, and I shave my beard like you, and all that weird stalker fan-ish type thing, which was kind of funny.
You know, that was a little thing that I actually kind of liked, just because it was like saying, hey, you know, he does have popularity. Actually, that's the one thing that kind of made me wonder. It's like, here's the Zulu fan, you know, he knows him from the newspapers, on TV, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then the kid, it's like, who are you? And it's like, seriously, you don't have a clue as to who this guy is, even though his face is plastered everywhere.
Well, he knew as soon as he craned the light and saw the suit. He's like, oh, it's Iron Man. He's like, technically, I'm Iron Man. And then he's like, technically, you're dead. Which I thought was a nice little exchange.
I didn't exactly understand what you just said.
Well, in that same scene where he's talking to the kid,
yeah,
you know, and he shines the light on the Iron Man suit, and he goes, oh, cool, it's Iron, and he goes, oh, cool, it's Iron Man. And Tony Stark goes, well, technically, I'm Iron Man. And then the kid hands him a newspaper and goes, technically, you're dead.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. I forgot that part.
I know, I like that part. I mean, I enjoyed seeing Tony out in the world, and I mean, you also get a sense of...
I think if I have to say that there's a negative, the one thing that stuck out was the word that Tony decided to use when he's talking to the kid, and the kid's like, well, my dad, please, don't be about it. I kind of felt like, oh, you shouldn't use that word choice just because you know that kids are going to go see this movie. I kind of felt like that was bad form.
Well, to each his own. I mean, in the moment I thought it was funny, so whatever.
No, I'm not. I mean, it was funny, but, you know, you could have said pansy or baby. You could have had other word choices that would have gotten across the same message, but were a little more kid-friendly. And I just say that just, you know, as a teacher working around kids, you're more aware of those sorts of things and how kids respond to it. Plus, if you know the kids are going to go see it, you just should be more aware of the language you promote. That's all. I mean, thankfully it wasn't like, you know, a lot. All of it's just the one word, you know.
Well, I mean, this was PG. Well, this was PG-13, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you honestly don't think 7-year-olds are not going to go see the movie?
No, I'm just saying they rated it correctly. It's all. If your 7-year-old goes sees Iron Man 3, well, they had a rating for its place, so it's your fault.
Yeah, I know. I am aware of that. At the same time, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. What I got a lot, too, was that you got a sense of vulnerability from Tony because of the fact that he didn't have his armor with him. So, you know, you have all these, you know, fire people going after him, and so it's like, if they get a solid hit, he's dead. So you're constantly like, oh, move, gotta move. How are you going to get out of this one? So it really added to the drama of it all, because you're just like, any minute now, he's going to be in mortal hurt if he doesn't do something.
Right.
Because, again, he's not like, you know, Thor, who can take a heck of a beating, or his brother Loki, who could be pummeled by the Hulk and not die. That's impressive in and of itself. We should be really afraid of Loki, because if you can stand that and then able to get up a little while later and ask for a drink, you're tough. But, yeah, I could pretty much say, as I said, with the stuff I said, mostly thoroughly enjoyable. There are some negatives, and I guess I'll let you take it from there. Do you have, what do you not like about the movie, if anything?
Yeah, I kind of said it was just that one word choice. Everything else I enjoyed.
All right. Here's some of my 2 bits. Now, of course,
You have a list.
a little bit. I mean, there's one major thing that I was like, what? Really? It's stupid. But in a different way. I guess because it's just like, well, I'll get to it. And these are mostly nitpicky. So, and this also comes from a film person point of view, because I'm trying to think logically in a comic book movie. I know, silly me. But it's sort of like, okay, why is it that just about anybody can pilot the War Machine suit? Now, I understand. This is kind of going... What's that?
Oh, you're talking about like having... Oh, I gotcha.
Now, if you take it back to the second movie, where Rhodes steals the War Machine suit for the first time, you have to wonder, how is he knows exactly how to fly it the moment he gets into it and how it works? Now, granted, I'm willing to give a leap of faith and go, well, he's in the Air Force. He understands aerodynamics and that sort of things. And Tony meant for him to steal it anyway. That's why he had him there, and that's why that one works with him, because all the other suits are supposedly only coded to Tony. Although the new one with the chips seems to work for Pepper.
Right.
But I'll go on a leap of faith and buy that. However, why is it that when they capture Rhodes, spoiler, they capture Rhodes because they were planning on using the Iron Patriot armor to capture the president.
Right.
So how is it that the main henchman, who I don't know his name, and I don't even know if they gave his name in the movie, but the main henchman, who isn't Killian, is able to get into the suit, not only work it, but able to fly, to where Air Force One is, and then they also knew how to program the suit to have the president inside of it and fly back to them, and literally walk up to Killian and release the president. How is that possible?
That's something I haven't thought of. I could probably speculate on a couple of those things. I would say that, this probably been about a year or two, as far as in movie time. It's been a year or two at least since the events of Iron Man 2. And we don't know what they were doing during the events of the Avengers. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were doing, they gave it a new paint job to go from War Machine to Iron Patriot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did at least a little bit of tinkering to make it so that it was more pilotable by, a random person.
I know, but it just seems odd that they were...
I can accept that. As far as like reprogramming stuff, I don't know.
But just like learning how to fly with it. If you think back to the first movie where Tony had to train himself how to be able to stabilize his flight, just to hover there,
Well, it wasn't so much. It really wasn't training himself. That was more of getting the right amount of power, getting the thrusters developed. Right? That was honestly a lot of the design, not so much training.
I know, but still, it just seems odd that they're just it seems like just anybody can fly the War Machine Iron Patriot suit / Iron Man suit, apparently. So it just seems a little odd. Not enough to ruin anything for me. It's just sort of like a point.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like, wait a minute, that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense now that I think about it.
Yeah, because granted, if you wanted Rhodes to be able to use it because you trust him, and he could be good at it, sure, fine, but don't make it open source. You know, don't let just any old person be able to climb into the suit and work it.
Yeah.
You know, because if that was the deal, it's like when you had that, when you brought up earlier, where like you thought it was cool seeing all the suits, and you had the Lethal Weapon moment where Rose is like, all right, give me a suit. He's like, sorry, can't. They're coded only to me. Well, why couldn't you code it to Rhodes too? But that other one just to Rhodes, you know? You would save yourself a lot of hassle.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next point, which is also sort of saving a lot of hassle. Now, this what I'm going to say before I say this is not a negative in terms of this movie felt very much like an end of things. I know at the very, 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 very end it says Tony Stark will return. But it feels like this movie sort of feels like a big wrap-up, because it ties up a lot of things that we think about for Tony, where he says he fixes up Pepper, and he's sort of like, you know what, I don't have to have all these suits. I can move on, and at the end of the day, I am Iron Man. But the big thing that sort of bothers me is the fact that he goes on and is like, you know, I was able to fix Pepper, and he's like, you know what? Why stop there? And he has surgery to remove the shards.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. Why didn't he do that in the first place? You know?
Why didn't he do that in the first place? Well, I think, honestly, if you look at it from the characterization, he was under the impression that if he did it, it would kill him.
But again, like, that's sort of...
I mean, I always took it as he just didn't want to take that risk. And then, quite honestly, Andrew, I'd say it's because he got lost in the Iron Man persona. Because because it's kind of like, okay, he had to create the arc reactor to get into his chest, and then he had to build a suit to get out of the cave, right?
That's fine. I accept that.
That was awesome. I bet when I can get at home, I can do it better. And then he starts working on these suits, and, it becomes a thing of, then, he has the popularity of the Iron Man character that he creates. I mean, it's a character in his world as well. And it's Tony Stark. He loves the press. And honestly, I mean, if you really think about it, I think a lot of what's changed is the fact that, is his relationship with Pepper. I mean, they're more domestic. They're starting to settle down into a relationship. And I think he's finally starting to realize, okay, I've been putting this off for far too basically because I've been thinking out my Iron Man persona. I can't do that anymore if I've got someone who loves me and is going to expect me to be home and someone I want to take care of. I mean, that's kind of how I always looked at it.
I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it works in the first movie because you feel like he's just so caught up in his work that he's not going to be paying attention to anything. But then, but the thing is, the reason why I bring this up is the fact that if he was just able to go to the hospital and have it surgically removed, it invalidates the second movie. Because it's like, because if you remember, having the arc reactor in his chest was poisoning him. And to the point where he had to get the different core. And it's not like but also, it's not like you have to have a power source, that arc reactor, in his chest the whole time, because as we were able to see, the Iron Man suits work well without it. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be in him to work a suit, because you have Iron Patriot, plus you have all these other spare suits that are flying around by themselves. So it's not like he himself has to power the suit. So the fact that they were able to, at this end of this movie, just be like, oh, just take him out. It's sort of like, dude, you should have, you're telling me that this from the span of the first movie to now, so that's however long in timeline-wise, Iron Man 2 and Avengers, you didn't go to the hospital once just to be like, you think this is possible to not have this thing in my chest and all this and that. But, that's looking at it in a logical point in terms of that. But also, what bothers me the most about it is not so much that, it's the fact that this sort of, taking the arc reactor out of the reactor out of his chest, the power source, the glowing bit, is more of I felt was a very symbolic thing, because it symbolized the fact that this is this was the beginning of a new life. The fact that, you had to wake up, you had to see the light. I'm being very corny here, but it's true. And to realize the error of your ways. And it's sort of like that being there was a constant reminder of, hey, you know what? You had to change. You had to get yourself there to become this new persona, to become this better person. And by just being able to remove it and literally pitch it into the water, it's sort of like you take away what really makes Iron Man, because like the fact that he had the shrapnel in his chest was because it was his own weapon that put it there. So you take away a lot of symbolism that was the whole point of Iron Man. You know, just by...
Deeper than I was expecting.
What's that?
So you're going a lot deeper than I was expecting.
Well, I know, and the thing is, I'm sure I don't know if I'm in a minority or not, but it's like, that's kind of what bothers me the most, is sort of like, and that's why I feel this, and they also had that little highlight reel at the end of the movie, too, where it feels like they're tying a lot of things up.
Right now, I never thought of that.
You know, because they...
I don't know anyone else who did.
I don't know. I mean, that's why this is a filmmaker / logic point of view, where it's like, you've taken away that thing that made him Iron Man, you threw it in the water, and then you had a highlight reel. So it really feels like this is the end of Iron Man, because like they tied everything up. There was no point at the end, other than him talking to Bruce Banner, which was pretty neat, that really hinted at anything else happening, you know?
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, I'm okay with that. You know?
I mean, I'm okay too. I mean, if they don't make another Iron Man movie, that's okay. And if they just have like Tony Stark will return in Iron Man in Avengers 2, that's okay, because you know they put out two solid films and one not as solid but watchable film.
I mean, because honestly, the way I look at it is, I mean, you watch Avengers and you're getting probably just as much, if not more, Iron Man than you did in an Iron Man movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with that.
No, I mean, it's, as I said, I mean, I was just looking at it more in terms of, you know, that's what made him that's what made the character. So him just.
And you are also looking at this, and you are actually showing your true colors here, sir. Because I'm just like, wow, you're very bright.
I mean,
kind of glad I never thought of that, because that would have ruined it for me.
I mean, I mean, in a way, I mean, the thing is, that's my theory of it. It's not official.
Oh yeah.
But to me, it does. I mean, that symbolized the character.
Because it is a valid point, but it is also at the same time one of the things of, well, he has grown, and he is no longer Iron Man. At least in the sense that we think of him as, you know?
Yeah, I know. It just feels like a lot of the things he says and does was based on that. Mainly, even in Avengers, where he's talking to Bruce Banner and talking about, like, you know, you make it work. Like, you know, he points to the reactor and says, you know, it's part of me now. You know, it's a part of me, and I use it. I've learned to cope with it and stuff like that. It's.
Well, yeah, but, you know, keep in mind, I would also point this out, keep in mind that when he says that to Bruce Banner, he hasn't fought the aliens, nor has he gone up against the Mandarin, either one. So the stakes got higher, and much higher, since he made that comment to Bruce. And I'm sure that at the time he meant it. It's just that, you know, that happens, and he's gone through another experience, one that, you know, he's gone through the post-traumatic stress syndrome. You know, in the events of Iron Man 3, you know, even after he makes the comment to Bruce, then he's got to go through this war, basically, which he's never gone through before.
Right.
So, I'm not going to say your point isn't valid, because it is. But I would say that, okay, well, yes, he makes the comment to Bruce, and I'm sure that he meant it at the time, and since then he's changed his mind. I mean, that would make sense to me. Because, you know, sometimes I wonder if people realize that it is perfectly capable for people to change their minds.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not. That's fine with me. It's, as I said, I mean, my biggest points of that bit was the fact that, you know, one, it's like, why didn't you go to the hospital sooner? And two, you kind of take something away from it, I feel. But, again, it could be just me thinking that.
I did always kind of wonder, it's like, why can't you, you know, I mean, I understand, you know, when you're in a cave, okay, you don't have the right equipment, you can't get it out, but, you know, if you do, then again, you know, given the timeline, I mean, there's astronomical advances in medicine at an exponential rate. So, you know, in a few years, they'll be able to do stuff they couldn't do this year. So, who knows?
I don't know. I mean, it's just... I don't know. I mean, as I said, overall, I liked the movie. I saw it twice. I saw it on opening night, and I saw it again with my dad, and it was good both times. So it was one of those things where, like, I can walk... Like, sometimes the second viewing is not as good, but even going in knowing what the plot twists were, didn't matter. I still enjoyed it. So overall, other than a few points here and they're, as I said, they're very nitpicky, I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters, is whether or not you enjoy it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's nice that there was some silly moments.
Bad movie, it can be a great movie. It's like, the real question is, did you enjoy it? If you enjoyed it, nothing else matters.
Exactly. I am looking forward to Thor, though.
Looking what?
I am looking forward to Thor, as we were kind of hinting at earlier.
Quite good, in my opinion. Let me ask you this, okay?
Okay.
What did you think of Ben Kingsley's portrayal of both the Mandarin and his Trevor Slattery?
Well, as we were poking fun at the beginning of this episode, where he's like, "Fortune cookies are not a Japanese or Chinese invention; they are American, which is why they are hollow, taste bad, and something something something. Well, leave a bad taste in the mouth. America, Mr. President, I will be seeing you soon." I mean, I felt it was a really good portrayal of, like, that Mandarin persona was a great portrayal of someone you should want to be afraid of. Like, this is a dude who's intent on, you know, chopping your face off. Because you don't look like him, you don't sound like him, you don't wear the same kind of hat.
Yep.
And then when you see him as Trevor, this, you know, drugged out, drunken, narcoleptic weirdo guy, you just sort of like, huh? What? What happened? Where's the guy we're supposed to be afraid of?
Yeah.
So it's a real...
I forget exactly what line it was, but it was when Tony and Brody first get there. And...
he's like, you gotta be kidding me.
I guess, yeah. And we first meet up with him. And we tell him about the drugs, and like, they took away, and he's like, no, they gave me more.
Yeah. They got you off him? No, they gave me more. They gave me plastic surgery, and they gave me a lovely speedboat.
But it's interesting because, you know, I thought about it, I was like, you know, you really don't see Ben Kingsley in a just comedic role.
No.
So I thought that was pretty, that was a nice, I mean, I like the twist. Like I said, I mean, it don't matter how you look at it, you know.
Yeah.
The wise man once said, the many truths we cling to depend greatly on their own point of view. So I think that bodes very much for this film, because you do have to really understand the point of view that they were going to appreciate it.
You know, not to diss an old Ben Kenobi, but that's a really flawed philosophy.
That's a what?
I said, that's a very flawed philosophy.
No, I'm not saying it isn't.
Because, you know, if it's all based on... I mean, you know, if what you deem is right is based on point of view, well, then everybody who ever lived was right.
Yeah, I know.
You know? If it's based on the point of view, well then, you know, the Emperor's point of view of I should rule everything because I control everything and I'm right. Well, he's right then if it's his point of view.
What are you doing putting logic into things, sir?
I'm just having fun.
I know. Okay, I think I'm trying to figure out what it was now. Crap.
I think another good Ben Kingsley Trevor line was like, if you're here to arrest me, I have some people I want to rat on.
What?
If you're here to arrest me, I have some people I want to rat on.
You know, one of the things I was just thinking about this, one of the things that I thoroughly enjoyed in the film was just seeing Tony. Actually, it was really funny, but the funniest thing for me was when Tony's getting ready to kind of he's in Tennessee, he's getting ready to kind of take his stuff and go take down Mandarin.
Yeah.
And we see him with a shopping cart in a Home Depot.
Yeah.
And I looked over at Ben and I was like, so we just paid $11 each to come see Iron Man go shopping.
What's funny too is I know I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but when he had his hood up and the glasses on, and all those supplies at the home goods store, whatever it was. I know it wasn't Home Depot, but let's just say it was a Home Depot type store. He almost looked like the Unabomber because he had so much stuff.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things I thought. I'm looking at it and if he puts the glasses on, he's going to look like the Unabomber. He's got the hat, he's got the hoodie. It's that's kind of weird.
You see some weird guy acting shifty, buying a ton of hardware, and you're just like, what's going on here?
Well, if you've noticed, nobody questions these things in these movies, so
no,
I'm go with that.
No, and it was fun. Another moment I also liked was when he's tied up and he's waiting for the armor. And he's like, "All right, you're gonna get you now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, come on, now." And then when he confronts that one guard, he's like,
2, 1, now.
"Yeah." And then when he confronts that one guard, he's like, "I don't want to work here anyway. They were all jerks. I'm out of here." That was great, because that would have been my move. It's like, I'm seeing all this go down. She's beating the crap out of people with flying fists and lasers. I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I give up. Here's my gun. Here's my everything. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And so yeah, if you haven't seen Iron Man 3, go see it. I know we just spoiled the heck out of it for you, but hey, you should have known better by now. Looking forward ahead, I know that we will eventually be talking about Star Wars. That'll be a very big podcast.
That's going to be multiple episodes easily.
Yes, it will.
I'm not really sure how many. At least 3, maybe 5.
Yeah, and
Because I have a couple special guests for those. And I'm going to be talking for 2 people instead of just 1. So.
Yes, and we'll get more into that, and hopefully we won't run into as many technical issues as we did tonight, because who knows?
Hopefully this is the last time we deal with technical issues.
Hopefully. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's because I'm running GarageBand along with this, because it wasn't this bad so other times we've done this, so I don't know what's going on. It's, when Matt is long distance, audio quality suffers, unfortunately. It's just the way of it.
Yep.
But, I do still want to talk about RPGs at some point. I have no idea when we'll do it, but, it's something to come. And, this is going to be... It'll happen eventually. And also, just as a reminder, I mean, this episode is going to go up in June. So, and this is also... June will be the month of my birth, and also the month where Superman comes out, which is the same day. So, go see Superman. Should be fun.
Yay! Yay for Man of Steel, or he'll punch you in the face.
Yes, and he will punch people. Or things, or something.
Not only will he be punching people, he will be punching people and slamming people and using his lightsaber vision on people.
Well, I actually get to see Superman.
No, it's going to be lightsaber vision. It's not laser unfortunate lightsaber vision.
That would be rough, having just like, because if you imagine just like having a steady beam saber out of your eyes, like how would you blink? You'd shed your own.
You know what? What's really going to be awesome is the fact that, like I said, it's Chris Nolan, so everything is going to have some sort of logic behind it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
I'm sure it will. It's not like verbally explained. We'll see it. We'll get a sense of what it's like, or what, how it works.
Yeah. By the way, I haven't actually looked at any of them yet, but I know that there's something of a debate going on between Kevin Smith, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and the Mythbusters, on how Superman shaves.
Depicted in both the animated series and Lois and Clark, that Superman simply shaves by using his laser vision against the mirror.
Yeah, I remember that. I just find that amusing that they're having this conversation.
Well, it's not really that they're having this conversation. It's PR. And it's really good publicity for the film.
Yeah, it's fun, too. I remember that shaving episode. Well, it's not like that was the only episode. That was like the fulcrum of the episode. But it was when he was battling Mixelplick. Hello?
Battling who?
Mr. Mixelplick, however you pronounce his name.
Yeah, that guy.
Mix Spitlick.
Yeah. Okay.
Voiced by the Affleck guy. Oh, what's his name? I know his name. What is it? Yes, him. Thank you. That was a good episode. Wow, what a week ending for Iron Man 3. Oh, anything you want to add, sir, before we close out and fly away in our armored suits of justice?
What?
I said, anything you want to add before we fly away on our armored suits of justice?
I like that, sir. I like that. Our armored suits of justice. We're going to have to incorporate that into the Freakacast logo somehow. In fact, you may have given me an idea for some sort of a Freakacast cosplay involving armored suits of justice.
And the nice thing is they'll just be business suits, just with armor plating.
I'm not exactly sure. It's just the idea of, hey, that sounds cool. So I actually need to flesh it out, but...
I know.
But it will definitely, let's see, anything to add before we fly away on our armored suits of justice? What can you add to Iron Man 3? Iron Man 4, I don't know. Maybe there will be, maybe there won't be. I know that Kevin Feige, he's the president or CEO of Marvel Studios, has said that, supposedly what they'd like to do with Iron Man is kind of do it like James Bond, where he'll make, 6, 7 films, and they'll just recast and move on, and it'll kind of be in the same continuity, kind of be left up to your own interpretation. So, I don't know if that's the plan, or, since Iron Man 3 ended the way it did, are we going to just be seeing him in, the next Avengers movie, and then, never again? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, they and the thing is, they did say Tony Stark will return. They didn't say Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
So, I mean, who knows? Although, honestly, I don't know Iron Man well enough to be like, I know all his villains. Like, I don't know who he would fight next.
Well, that's a good point. How many times can he fight guys in suits? I know there's Titanium Man, but it's just a guy in a titanium suit. I mean, I don't know. I do know that I honestly don't think any one superhero can honestly become a James Bond-like franchise. Even Superman, or Batman with all his rogues together. I don't see any character really having that kind of longevity, just because, James Bond has 23 films, and they always come in with new ideas. You know, and granted, there were 17 books to start off with. That was a pretty good start. You know, Harry Potter series just wrapped up. That was 7 books and 8 films. They're not going to make more Harry Potter films, so they have no more material to work with.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's one thing where I would say I don't really buy into the idea that they're going to be able to James Bond it, but I wouldn't be surprised if, say, in 10 years or so, we might see a reboot of Iron Man. We've seen a reboot of Spider-Man, we've seen a reboot of Batman, we're getting ready to see a reboot of Superman. I know that there's a reboot of Fantastic Four in the works. I don't think that's a terrible idea. You know, every generation should get its version of those characters.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like that's more feasible. You know, I think it's much more feasible to say this generation's of this character, and then the next generation comes in and they make their version. I think that's one of the reasons that characters live on for so long is because each generation is able to put its stamp on it. You know, just modified over the years. You know, they say, okay, well, we've done this before, let's try something new. Okay, you know, this worked or this didn't work. Okay, we'll modify it for the next time. And that's what makes it fun and interesting, and that's why we come back to these characters. I mean, realistically, Batman is Batman, you know, but why do we keep going back to it? You know, there's the 60s show, there's the Tim Burton film, there's the Nolan film, like, but there's different, there's the animated series. It's a different generation's take on it. And Iron Man is no different, you know, and I think, you know, just because this is the first time that in the last 5-6 years, this is the first time where Iron Man has been a household name. You know, before the films, you could walk up to any random person on the street and say, hey, you know who Iron Man is? And they'd be like, a grinder out of iron? You know, but now it's public knowledge. Yeah, it's Tony Stark, it's Robert Downey Jr. You know, there's an association there. And I think that's one of the really cool things that Marvel's done. And I look forward to what's coming next. I know Captain America, the Winter Soldier, is going to be, you know, a political thriller, and, you know, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be like a Tom Clancy movie. That sounds great.
I'm up for it.
You know, Thor 2, like I said, you know, it's shaping up pretty well. We've seen the first trailer a couple weeks ago. You know, definitely got the fantasy element. Go with it. Awesome. Maybe if we're really lucky, we'll get another Hulk film. Because, you know, he's a cool character. I think it's you know, you got to find somebody that can make it work. I mean, the last Hulk film we got worked, but it didn't have the mainstream popularity. And I think, unfortunately, it's because, and this is really sad, and I can't believe I actually have to point this out, but apparently, Andrew, there are people who don't want pathos and don't want a story, and they just want to see the character fight.
Well, I mean, that should be a big part of it. I mean, you definitely want hulking out and destroying things, but you need something of a plot.
You know, I want to see a story. I want to see, you know, there's a characterization there that you want to have, you know. It's kind of like, you know, when people would put their, why didn't like it because Batman wasn't in it much? It's like, so you don't care about the character being the character, you just want him to walk around in a Batman costume. You know.
Well,
I'm sorry, but there needs to be a reason. I just kind of want to look and go, did you watch the film? There was a reason he wasn't in the costume a lot.
Well, I mean, when people, like, in their minds, when they think, like, oh, there should be this sort of a movie and he should be blowing stuff up, it's like, do you know how bad a movie that's over an hour long of just fighting would be? You would have no time to breathe, and you would get bored. Like, if you have all action all the time, like, there's no breathing points, or it's just like, bam, 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 what kind of a movie is that? There's no point to it.
Well, and yet, at the same time, those movies, Transformers, while I do like those films, you know, for what they are, because to me it's turn off your brain, you know, stick your brain at the door and watch giant robots fight. But those movies make $1 billion.
Yes, but even in those movies, there is some points where they have to stop and be like, okay, here's exposition. I'm talking about, like, where people are going, oh, I don't want to see a whole story in Hulk. I want to see him bash stuff. Like, well, if you saw an hour of him with no talk, all him just screaming and bashing things for 2 hours, that would be a terrible movie.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So, that's just a weird conception.
I'm just saying it saddens me when people complain that there's not enough of this, and it's like, yes, but it had story, and it was done well, and there was a reason for things. So, I mean, I don't want too heavy-handed of a story in something that doesn't need it. I felt, one thing I will say, kind of tagging back up on the Iron Man 3, I thought that the balance of the drama and the comedy was done well in Iron Man 3. I thought that it was a well-balanced film. It's probably as serious as you could make an Iron Man film.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think you can get into the really heavy stuff like The Dark Knight or probably what we'll see with Man of Steel with Iron Man, because he is the more laid-back, comedic character. And that's what works for that character, and you need that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
And it really just, and, you know, the scene where Tony goes to the Mandarin's house in Miami, it felt like the Lethal Weapon movie there. So.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I have left to say on the subject.
That's all I have to say about that.
Forrest Gump would be a great Iron Man.
That would be interesting.
Mama always said life is like a box of bolts and nuts.
Not sure how that would work, actually. And that's kind of in my mind. Like, Forrest Gump as Iron Man. I'm just not sure.
Boy, you iron. Iron is as iron does.
It's funny either way.
And on that note, Freaks out.